The Badgers started off hot in the portal, and they have not slowed down position by position where the Badgers are at and where they still need to add more bodies.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Ryan Harings. Thank you for being here. Thank you for helping make Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We could not have done it without all of you. And personally, just from me to you, thank you for being a part of this community, this Badgers community. I really do appreciate it. Today's episode, what do we still need to do? Going position by position. Let's grade what they've done so far, take stock of what they've done so far, because it's happened so quickly that I think it's a good spot to just hit the pause button in the TiVo, right? Hit the pause button. If you're younger folks out there, TiVo is like a DVR. Hit the pause. Let's see what they've done. Let's evaluate. And then where do they still need to continue adding more bodies? Let's get into it. We'll go position by position. Really do appreciate y'all. Let's start at quarterback. I think this is a minus so far at the quarterback spot for the Badgers. If we're doing rough grades up to this point in time, it's not an A++ because I don't think they can be done. They're still in on a couple other quarterbacks that are potentially going to be coming to visit. I think you need another body here. So it's not an A+ to me, but I don't know how you can go, for me, lower than an A-. You get Colton Joseph, face of the class. This is who you wanted in the portal. And Colton Joseph, you're talking about a true dual threat engine, somebody you can play the way Jeff Grimes wants to do, somebody that is going to engineer offense. That's one of the difference, and I don't think we've talked about this enough. Badger quarterbacks are typically quarterbacks that need offense engineered for them. They need to have good protection, a good running game, a good receiver, a defense that keeps the opposing offense off the field, good field position. This is a quarterback that can engineer for you. He can create openings. He is an elite athlete. I think it's an A- so far. I don't think they're done. I think they need another body. If they can bring in a capable number 2, number 3, just someone to add depth and fill out that room, I think it becomes an A+ for me. So far, A- at the quarterback spot. Colton Joseph, a massive get. Let's go to running backs. They got 2 here, including one we haven't really even had a chance to talk about yet. Let's start with Brian Jackson, USC, committed today, committed this morning, or depending on when you're going to listen to this show. Really nice get. Coming out of high school, he had a big-time offer list, showed flashes at USC as a true freshman. A little up and down this last year, but a big body. You're talking 6 foot, 235 pounds. You're talking about a player in the red zone that is going to be a bit of a threat there. Really physically filled out kid, finisher, dirty yards guy, pass protection, keeps other backs in the running back room fresh. I think this is part of a running back by committee that Abu Sama is there. Other pieces, it's going to be 2 or 3 guys rotating in and out, which I think is great. That's fine. If you have a Melvin Gordon, if you have a Jonathan Taylor, you don't need that. The Badgers don't have one of those franchise backs right now. So you need some type of rotation. You need depth. And I just like the size. I love the size that you're bringing in with Jackson coming from USC. Again, a theme here, man. They picked up so many players from big-time Power 4 programs. I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know if that's going to backfire, but it's an interesting thing to note. This is another player coming from a big-time program. Nice offer list out of high school. And then you pair him with Abu Sama. Abu Sama, explosive back, proven volume, 5.2 yards per carry at Iowa State. I think he would have had more holes playing in probably a better system, but a really interesting player between the tackles. This is a guy that could run for 1,000 yards this year. He could lead your running back room, Abu Sama. So really interesting piece there. I do think you're done at running back probably, but you could add another. This is definitely one of those cases for me where I've used this analogy a lot. You go to the grocery store for something very specific. Mrs. H sends me out for, buddy, we need beans. We need beans and rice. And I'll come back with beans and rice and Oreos. Or beans and rice and a 6-pack of IPM. Be like, it was on sale. I couldn't resist. So running back, I think if you can find another person who makes sense, that you can get a value on, you add them because more depth is always good. But I think you're probably done here. I'm going to say a B+ for the Badgers up to this point at the running back spot because I don't think you landed a star. I think you landed one really good guy in Abu Sama that I think is going to be solid and a nice other big body player in Brian Jackson to add into the depth and the rotation. I think it's B+ at the running back spot so far. Let's go receiver. Receiver, you got Shamir Rigby, who we've talked about, 6'3", boundary size, coming from Oklahoma State. Hasn't been hugely productive. Was originally at Purdue, Shamar Rigby, but Oklahoma State was terrible last year. Oklahoma State was a mess. It led to, obviously, Coach Gundy getting fired. It's hard to judge him based on what he did last year, just like it's hard to judge Vinny Anthony or Trech Kahuna, Lance Mason on what they did at Wisconsin. If everything is a mess around you as a receiver, unless you're Calvin Johnson, it's really hard. You can't throw the ball to yourself. You can't take the snap as a receiver and then throw the ball to yourself. It just legally is not allowed. It's not, you can't do that. So it's hard to judge him. And then you pair him up with Jalen Domingo, who comes from Southeastern Louisiana State, 6'2", 210 pounds. Interesting receiver here. 52 catches, 857 yards, 11 touchdowns on 52 catches. They used him in the red zone a lot. Going to watch film on Domingo, there's a lot of contested catches in the red zone at a lower level. We'll have to see how that translates, but he has a big, nice body, long arms. Looks like he has the ability to catch the ball away from his frame. This, to me, feels like a guy that is kind of an instant production profile, fits in the red zone, chain mover, and still has some vertical elements to his game. So I think they've done I like both the receivers they brought in, Shamar Rigby and Domingo. I think it's like a C+ right now because I think you need 4 or 5 guys, and neither of these players to me is a surefire guy. I like the size of both of them, 6'2", 6'3". You're bringing in 2 larger boundary receivers into a receiver room that needs that desperately. But you still need to add 2 or 3 more. And they're still in on a couple potential. The portal changes very quickly. I think up to this point, it's like a C+. It's probably a bit of a pipe dream to say you're going to go get a number 1 guy, like a true alpha, like a Nick Marsh type in the portal. But you are going to need some more bodies here. You're going to need more depth here. I think you could use a slot guy too. Kyan Johnson's gone. Trech Kahuna's gone. I think you're maybe counting on one of the young freshmen to play early. I still think Zion LeGray makes a ton of sense there as a guy who can line up in the slot and just take, end arounds, can catch receiver screens. But 2 nice gets so far. You have 1 player coming from a lower level, FCS, in Domingo, who has production, has size, but is going to have to prove, can he translate it at this level? And then you have Shamar Rigby coming from Oklahoma State. He feels like a contested catch guy. He feels like a big frame possession mover. They got to add more here. So I'm going to say C+ here. Definitely not done at receiver. I think they could be done at running back. I don't think they're done at quarterback. All right, let's take a second here. We're going to come back to offensive line. When we come back, offensive line, tight end, some really interesting pickups on the offensive line that we haven't had a chance to talk about yet. How would you grade that spot? How am I going to grade that spot? Are they done there? That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show over at Rocket Money. And I got to tell y'all, money is not something I've always been great at. It's not something I've always been really, really diligent about. And I need to get better there. And I hope everybody else, if you're have some of those same struggles that I do at times, I hope you work at getting better at it as well. Because a lot of stress in our life comes from money, whether it's stress in relationships, whether it's stress in our jobs, whether it's stress in how we're going to pay our bills, whatever it is, we can all probably be a little bit better with our money. And let's do that together over at Rocket Money, the personal finance app that helps you get a little bit better with your money. And maybe there's probably not a better investment you can make than getting a little bit better here, and you'll save money. It'll save you on subscriptions that you forgot about, bills that keep going up. It'll help you figure out where your money's going. It will automatically categorize some of your spending. It can just be a helpful advisor, friend, partner in your financial journey in 2026. So we can do more. So we can do more in life for ourselves, for our kids, for our families, for our charities, maybe for Badgers NIL. Also, maybe in there as well. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join rocketmoney.com/locked-on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. rocketmoney.com/locked-on. We'll do it together. We'll be accountability buddies. Okay, let's come back into this. Let's talk tight ends, offensive line. How have the Badgers done? Did he still need to add to these spots? Let's start offensive line. I'm going to say A-. I'm going to say A- so far on the offensive line. Listen, they got the center. You go out and you add Austin Kawecki, a starting center at Oklahoma State. This is a plug and play healthy. He's a healthy center, Badger fans. How many years now have we been asking for, can we just have a healthy center, please? It's like a starving person at a cafe. Like, could I just have a center, sir? So getting a starting center in the portal when, as we've talked about all offseason, those guys don't enter the portal very often, and they're hard to get when they get there. A player, he's not Travis Frederick, right? He's not Peter Kahns. He's not probably going to be a top 3 NFL draft pick, but he can come in, he can play right away. He's pretty good in pass protection, light on his feet. He's going to win by understanding the line calls, by protecting Colton Joseph, by IDing the defensive fronts. He's experienced, he's healthy, played 700 plus snaps last year. Massive win. But that alone, if they had landed nobody else, I'm probably giving them a B just for getting a center. Even knowing that they needed other spots and needed to go in other places, just getting the center is massive. It's massive. It's massive. Can't overstate it. Can't overstate it. This is potentially who we hope Jake Renfro would be when he came over from Cincinnati to Madison in Luke Fickell's first portal class. And we'll do it again this year. Every year we did a portal top 5 players coming in, and we do our community prospect rankings. Renfro was my number 2 portal get that year, if I can remember correctly. It was literally Tanner Mordecai because he's a quarterback and Jake Renfro because he's a center. Kawecki is probably my number 2 get this year up to this point. It's so important. Cannot overstate it. And I think we got spoiled as Badger fans because we had, I don't know, it felt like 15 years of great center play. And then suddenly you don't have it for 3 years. And it feels like a sailor on a transatlantic voyage in 1734 when we don't have vitamin C. We're all getting center scurvy. You got to have a center in your life. Otherwise, you're going to get center scurvy. It's so important. I'm so stoked. So stoked. I'm more stoked about the center than Colton Joseph, I feel like. That's crazy. So, again, it's like a B for me. Just because you got Kawecki at center, you got a starting plug-and-play center. But let's go down the list. A couple other players we haven't had a chance to talk about in this show. Blake Cherry, 3 years left, was at Arkansas, had a really nice offer list. Obviously, he's following Coach Mateos from Arkansas to Wisconsin. So you have that. It's always nice when you bring in a positional coach and he brings a couple players with him. Blake Cherry's coming in. Feels like a guard to me. He's got multiple years of experience left. Blake Cherry feels like a developmental starter type, the player you get in the pipeline, and probably not this year. I know some people think he's going to come in and start right away, which could happen. Obviously, he has a connection with this offensive line coach. I still feel like he's maybe your swing guard. I think I wouldn't write off Colin Cubberly. I really wouldn't as one of your potential starting guards. Emerson Mandel as well, I think, will be in that mix. But he's definitely a guy coming in, a good player, hasn't shown a lot, but good upside. So that's Blake Cherry. You bring in Lucas Simmons, interesting kid out of Florida State, kind of a swing tackle potentially. He was a highly ranked kid too, though. Good size, had a big offer list. I think he could come in and be one of your starting tackles. I think Kevin Haywood's going to be your left tackle. I would be very surprised if that doesn't happen. This could be your starting right tackle. I'm sure there's going to be competition there, but he's either your starting right tackle or I think he's your swing tackle, both of which you're going to need. So that's a big deal. And then you go get PJ Wilkins from Ole Miss. Massive individual, 6'5", 6'4", 335. Started his career at Charlotte, played a couple years there, played really well there, transferred to Ole Miss, didn't really work out. Coming to Wisconsin, I think it's a depth piece, right? We do have to be realistic with some of these pieces. Some of them are coming in and they're going to be depth pieces. Some of them are going to come in and not hit at all, which is why it's important to get numbers. To some degree, it's a numbers game. You got to get enough bodies in the door so that the ones don't derail you. You have enough left over that hits. This feels like a depth piece, big physical player, probably not a starter, in my opinion. But I think you take all that together. You got the center. You got who I think could potentially be your starting tackle in Simmons, or if not, a swing tackle. And you got Blake Cherry, who I think could be either a swing guard or a starting guard. I think you picked up 2.5 starters, center, and then between tackle and guard, I think one of those guys are going to start, and I think the other one's your swing guy. You picked up 2.5 starters and another depth piece. How do we think this offensive line, first of all, are they done here? I don't think necessarily. I think they will still be looking for another body if they can get them. I really do. I think last year scared the bejesus out of them, scared the offensive line depth out of them. They remember very clearly what it was like to shuffle 4 offensive linemen around in the middle of a season, to go through 3 centers, to lose your starting left tackle and not have a great answer. I believe they're going to try to insulate themselves this year. So another guy wouldn't shock me, but I think they could be done here too, depending on what some of those younger guys in the room want to do. Hardy Watts, I think he's coming back. Logan Powell's still there. You have Brian Corey, Colin Cubberly, Nolan Davenport, Michael Roski. There's a lot of young chess pieces in there that we have to figure out where they're going to go, how they're going to develop. But I do think they could finish up here. To me, it's an A- up to this point. I think the only way you would have a better grade is if you landed maybe a surefire elite starting tackle. But that's hard. It's hard to get a center. So I think it's an A- up to this point. To me, if I was going to peg the starting lineup, I think it's Haywood, Cubberly, Kawecki, Mandel, and Simmons. I think people are writing off Colin Cubberly a little too quickly in this starting battle. I thought he had moments last year. It was a growing experience for him, but he's still super young. He's built like a runaway beer fridge. Like, I think that'll play. That'll play on the offensive line. So I'm curious to see what he looks like. Again, keep in mind, he's young too. Emerson Mandel, he's young too. Let's see what they look like with another year of strength and conditioning, with another year of reps, with another year of college experience. There's a scenario where in a couple of years, we're looking at an offensive line, or maybe 1 year, we're looking at an offensive line with Kevin Haywood and then a more experienced Mandel, a more experienced Cubberly. These guys could be maulers, but it'll be nice to see them another year forward. Let's go tight ends. I think tight ends for me, I think they are done. Again, with my caveat of the grocery store, if you find something that makes so much sense, you got to add it, go ahead and add it. But they brought in 2 bodies here. They lost Tucker Ashcraft in the offseason. They lost Lance Mason, but they're bringing in 2 bodies, and you're still going to have Emmett Bork and Grant Steck. So I think they're fine here. You bring in Ryan Schwendeman, who, to me, Ryan Schwendeman, again, part of what we're doing here is just reminding everybody who we got, how they win, what kind of player they are. Schwendeman at tight end is kind of a gritty, traditional inline guy. He's going to block, good frame, enough hands to go out in the flat, enough hands to run a hook, a little crosser. He can catch the ball, but he's really more of your, let's go 2 tight ends, let's go 3 tight ends, let's put him on the end, let's control the edge, let's punch it in at the 1 yard line. I think he's a depth piece that adds physicalness, that adds run blocking to the room, which is important because you look at this room right now. Najee Davis isn't that physical blocker. Bork is young. Steck is still a little young. It's nice to have another guy just inline that can block. You bring in Jacob Harris, a little bit more of a passing threat. Bowling Green, 2 years left, had 5 touchdowns last year, big frame. I like him as more of that red zone guy. I think he wins by moving the chain. I think he wins on 3rd down against some linebackers where he can use his frame. I think he wins in the red zone. He feels like a nice pickup. To me, the tight ends, and everybody in the chat, let me know your positional grades. We'll go through them again at the end. You let me know where, up to this point, how you would grade the Badgers in the portal. I think tight end for me is a B. I think it's solid. It's not great. It's not needle moving. I think you've kind of lost to Tucker Ashcraft. And as I say this, it's actually interesting. I didn't really factor in the losses. I think losing an Ashcraft and bringing in like a Jacob Harris, well, I think Harris might be a little bit better of a pass catcher, but I don't know how much you're gaining in that sense. I have it as a B. Tight ends is a B to me, but I also didn't really factor in any losses. I'm just kind of factoring who they're able to get and bring in. Let me know in the chat where you're at on all the offensive grades. We have, just to rerun it back, I have quarterback A-, running back B+, receiver C+, again, just up to this point, tight ends at a B, offensive line at A-. Again, just anchored by that center. So I can't say it enough, man. It's so, I'm relieved that we were able to get a center in the portal. I really am. Will it work out? We'll see. I was excited about Jake Renfro and injuries. It never worked out. Not all these players are going to work out. But we also got to acknowledge that's true in everything in life. Not every employee you hire your company works out. Not every player you bring into your high school recruiting class works out. Not every draft pick, including high first-round draft picks in the NBA, baseball, NFL, NHL work out, right? Not every Lego set you buy works out. Not every puzzle set you buy works out. I say this from experience because we just threw a puzzle set away because we could not figure it out and finish it as a family. And that thing went in the trash can. Nobody bats 1,000 on anything. So some of these guys don't work out, but I do really like what they've done on the offense side. Take a second here. We're going to come back with the defensive side, including a really interesting safety they picked up, starting safety from an SEC team. That's next, Locked On Badgers. Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Badgers. Thank you for making this part of your day. Thank you for being a part of this Locked On community. You're already a part of this community. So there is, if you want, there's a Locked On Everydayers Club. You get access to a Discord, a Locked On only Discord. You get access to a little bit more custom Locked On content. So if you want to be a part of that, look in the show notes for the Everydayers Club. You already live this show and this team. So if you want to do that, go look in the show notes for that as well. All right, let's talk defense. Let's talk defense for a second. Defensive line, I'm going to go B. We're going to go B. I don't think they're done here. I think they really could use another body, but man, did they pick up an interesting kid from the MAC. So Junior Poyser coming over, one of the higher rated MAC defensive linemen, had 5.5 sacks in the interior last year. That's really impressive. That's a number when you see an interior defensive lineman, he's 6'2", 310, Junior Poyser. When you see him get 5.5 sacks, and it's in the MAC, which is D1 football. I mean, he's not playing Georgia, Bama, Arkansas, but he's not at the FCS level. That's interesting. That shows some burst. That shows some disruption. I think he's a starter. I think you bring in a guy like that to start. And then you also bring in Justice Boone. Justice Boone from Arkansas last year, 6'4", 280. He's, to me, just an edge setter. He's a Parker Peterson type. He's a depth piece, but that's good. That isn't said derogatively. I mean, that's a good thing. A depth piece is necessary in the defense line. He fits into your two deep. He's played at Florida. He played at Arkansas, had 20-something tackles last year. He feels like a guy on first and second down that can absorb contact, that can control blockers, control the line of scrimmage, and help you get to 2nd and 7. I always say that. Your base run defense is what gets you to 2nd and 7. Those hog mollies in the middle that can't be moved off the line of scrimmage, that's what gets you to 3rd and 8. And then Nicholas Clayton can eat. And then a Mason Reiger last year can eat. But you got to get there. That's what the Badgers couldn't do 2 years ago. They couldn't get defense or opposing offenses into 3rd and long. So it was harder to rush the passer. Justice Boone feels like a guy who's going to fit into that run defense and help stay stout up front. But again, the interesting one really right here is Junior Poyser. Listen, it's rare to find interior defensive linemen that win in the pass rush, and it's even harder to find them in the portal. That feels like a really interesting pickup that at the end of the year you look back on and say, man, he's good. And he's potentially got 2 years left, by the way. That is the kind of guy who changes 3rd downs, who changes the line of scrimmage without blitzing. You need those. Big get for the Badgers. So I'm going to say B on defensive line so far because I think they need another body. And I think Justice Boone is just he's just kind of a solid guy. I would like another body there, but I'm going to say B because I think Poyser is a really, really good get for them. At the edge spot, they really haven't been able to add somebody. They got a couple guys coming in, including a player of the Badgers, Jaden Lofton, that the Badgers were in on a couple years ago out of high school. Went to Tennessee. He's going to be coming up on a visit. I like him a lot. He would be more of an upside pull, but the type of guy that you want in your pipeline to develop. Let's go linebackers. Right now I have a C. There hasn't been a lot there. To be fair, 2 of their best players on defense are young interior linebackers in Mason Post and Cooper Catalano. But they did bring in John Kamara, who to me is just an athletic upside swing, 39-inch vertical, can bench press a small home. He is definitely the type that you bring in and you take a swing on the upside. And John Kamara came over from Kansas. He's a guy, he's got multiple years of eligibility. You get him in the pipeline and you see if he can become like a Leon Jacobs. Just an athletic freak. You get him on the field and you just let him develop. Fine. It's a depth piece. It's an athletic piece. It's probably a special teams guy with that type of athletic profile. That's helpful. That's a big part of football, obviously. But nothing really proven here. Taylor Schaefer also came in the portal much earlier, but that's a really productive player. I think it's fine. I think they added 2 solid depth pieces. Nothing that really moves the needle. I'm going to say C at linebacker for now. I would like them to add another one if they could. Let's go cornerback. Cornerback's an A. I think cornerback's an A. You start with, we can just go down the list. Eric Fletcher coming over from Oklahoma State, 6'1" corner, 180 pounds. The type of guy who can grow in your system, but has the type of length you're looking for. Again, coming from a Power 4 program. You have Kai Bates, who we've talked about, Florida State, another big-time Power 4 program. Really unique physical skill sets for Kai Bates. Definitely can play maybe some safety, maybe some corner. He can come up and play press. He's pretty athletic. That's a traits athleticism combo that you just take a swing on all day. again, with Kai Bates, we talk about this. You don't get to go play corner at Florida State unless you have a certain level of physicality. Unless you have some certain God-given skills. You don't get to go play corner at Florida State. Florida State has plenty of problems. One of the problems they don't have, they have 99 problems. So one of the problems they don't have is finding athletes at corner. All right. They get dudes at corner. This is a player that was originally committed, I think, to LSU, had a massive offer list. It's a really interesting upside pickup for the Badgers. 6'2", big size. I think he could be a safety as well. So we'll have to see where they want to use him and where they want to play him. But to me, that's a no-brainer pickup for Wisconsin. As long as he's a culture fit, you're going to take those type of athletes on the edges all day long. Let's talk about Bryce West for a second. Bryce West coming over from Ohio State. Again, you see a theme here, specifically in the defensive back room. Pulling guys from Oklahoma State, Florida State, Arizona State, Ohio State, Missouri. Bryce West, former blue chip corner, one of the top corners in the country. There were Ohio State fans that were upset about this, who thought that this was maybe one of their starters next year. He's a guy that ideally he's going to win by locking some people up, by turning and running with players, by giving Wisconsin a man component that they haven't had a lot of. This is an element they're missing. You have to have somebody who can lock somebody up, so you don't just have to rely on zone. Bryce West potentially gives you that. Feels like he could be another starter next year, another high upside guy. Really nice get for the Badgers. And then there's maybe my favorite non-quarterback center guy in the class, Javon Robinson. 2-year, multi-year starter at Arizona State. It feels like Javon Robinson at the cornerback spot, he comes in and he just can play adult cornerback. He's been playing it for a long time. He's had good numbers against really good passing games, a lot of experience, enough size. Just feels like an adult. Like you can put him at corner and not stress too much about what he's going to do, what he's going to miss. He's seen it all. Really like that pickup. I think corner's an A. I would not have expected this from the staff, and I expected them to do well. If you remember before the portal, I said, I think they're going to do well. I think the money's real. I would not have expected this haul at corner. I think it's an A. Let's go safety. I think it's a B+. So big get today for the Badgers. Marvin Burks, coming from Missouri, proven SEC guy, has played a ton of ball for them. Another player who started at an SEC school, at a big-time school, really good tackler. I think he's more of a strong safety. He's probably a little bit more of an in-the-box guy, but he's definitely a player from a communication standpoint. He's seen a lot of ball. He's played a lot of ball at a very high level. Good tackler. Really nice get for the Badgers to help solidify the safety spot. A safety spot that's losing Austin Brown, that had communication issues last year, that lost Preston Zachman to the portal. This is a big get. I think this is a plug-and-play starter. Okay. The problem is I think you still need a free safety. I'm still a little worried about free safety. You also bring Carson Van Dinter, Iowa State. He feels like more of a long-term projectable guy. Also, to me, in my opinion, probably more of an in-the-box safety. I think you brought in two guys that are probably more in-the-box safeties, which is fine. You need that as well. But, man, you need I still think you need a deep cover one type safety who can cover sideline to sideline, who can range, who can take away deep shots, who can read the quarterback. They could use that, in my opinion. So but I still really like these two pieces, specifically Burks. I think Burks is a starter, right? I think Poyser's a starter. I think Javon Robinson is probably a starter. Bryce West could be a starter. There might be 4 starters in this defense room they've already added. And Justice Boone could start too, if we're being honest, depending on how some other players develop and how they shake out. Let me know in the chat your grades, each position up to this point. I hope this summary was useful. A bunch more content coming up as always. And thank you for tuning in to Locked On Badgers and being part of this community. Y'all are awesome. On Wisconsin, and more content coming tomorrow.